often hear people say that a lot of evil exists in the world, but what exactly do they mean by that? What they most likely mean is that a lot of things seem to happen that shouldn't. For example, murder, theft, oppression, poverty, etc. In other words, evil. But what is evil exactly? This next section tells us that evil is not a thing in itself. Rather, it is the name that we give something that isn't there, but should be. Let's cover this step by step. Most people think that evil only refers to moral actions. If, for example, I were to see you on the side of the road and come up and say hi, you could say hi back or just simply punch me in the nose. This latter option would be considered evil or wrong. But what is evil about this scenario? Well, it's the fact that you should have acted differently. In other words, all of our moral actions should be done out of love, and where there's a deficiency or lack of love, which should be there, we call this an evil. And so evil is the term we use to describe a lack of something that should be there. This lack of something is also called a privation, and the greater the privation, the greater the evil. It's important to bear in mind that evil or privation only refer to things that should have something, but don't. For example, the fact that rocks don't have eyes is not an evil, because rocks are not the types of things that are supposed to see. It's not part of their nature. When a child is born blind, however, this is an evil, because human beings are the types of things that should see. And so evil is not a thing in itself. It doesn't have any positive existence, like, say, a cat or a tree or a watermelon does. But it's also not the same as nothing, because nothing or non-being has no existence whatsoever. Rather, evil is like a parasite, in that it can only exist in things that already possess a positive existence. I know the jargon here is a little difficult, but some examples should help us easily enough. For instance, think about a person who goes to a dentist and finds out that he has a cavity. What is a cavity? It's just a hole in a tooth. Or when was the last time you wore a shirt or a pair of socks with holes in them? What are these holes? They're just empty spaces where more cloth should be. That is what is meant by evil as a lack or privation. Now, before we finish this up, I should also mention that there are three types of evil, generally speaking. There's metaphysical evil, moral evil, and natural evil. Metaphysics deals with natures or whatnesses of things, so metaphysical evil has to do with a lack or privation of something that exists in itself. For example, a quadriplegic is a person that's affected by paralysis in all four limbs. However, having complete and healthy function of all four limbs is part of what it means to be a normal human being. This doesn't mean, of course, that a quadriplegic is any less valuable than other humans, but it simply points out that what's proper to the nature of a human being is to have proper functioning of these four limbs. Moral evil, however, refers to the deficiency of actions that a moral agent commits, like humans. In fact, moral evils can only originate from moral or rational agents. For example, if I were to trespass on your property after you specifically warned me not to, that's an evil. It's an evil because, assuming my rational faculties were working when you told me I should not have done that and I didn't listen. And you could call the cops on me and have me arrested. However, you couldn't do the same for a deer or a dog. Although you might be able to call the cops on them and have them removed, they are not morally culpable for trespassing because they're not rational agents. Finally, natural evil refers to non-moral agents that cause an evil or lack in something else. For example, a tornado. It could knock over a tree or it could kill a person. In both cases, it does damage, but in itself is not a rational agent. So let's wrap up here. Evil really refers to a lack or privation of something which has positive existence. The tooth with the cavity in it, for example, really does exist, though the cavity itself just describes the hole where more tooth should be. There are also three types of evil: metaphysical, moral, and natural. It's important not to get these three confused. Metaphysical evil refers to the lack or privation in the subject itself. In other words, if our subject is little Timmy and little Timmy is blind, this is an evil with respect to his nature, because little Timmy is the type of being that should be able to see. Moral evil, however, refers to actions caused by moral agents. Although little Timmy is blind, this says very little about how he behaves. If, for example, he uses his blindness as an excuse to beat people with his walking stick, these are morally deficient actions that he's doing. This is an evil. Finally, natural evil refers to the destruction caused by non-moral or non-rational agents. A river, for example, if it overflows and wipes out a village, it really does damage. It itself cannot be held morally responsible, though, because it's not a rational substance. Now that we know what evil is, let's press on to the topic of how it originated.